Hi, welcome to the volunteer recruiting manual I put together for you. This is titled From Inside the Trenches, and I will talk a little bit more about that later. But first, did you see my t-shirt? It says, "Trust me, I'm a theologian." I thought you'd appreciate that. So this series is for anybody in the nonprofit world. Because let's be honest, there's too much to do, not enough time, and not enough help. You're overworked and you're underpaid, and you know how that feels. Now, in this series, I'm going to give you tangible, practical tools and suggestions, the best resources that are very inexpensive or free and can help you be tremendously efficient with your time and effective in recruiting volunteers. I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about theory, and I don't want to simply throw books at you because you have all that already. I want to give you steps that you can implement today. And in order to do that, I need you to commit to at least 10 minutes of your workday to implementing the suggestions I'm going to give you. You'll know which ones are going to work right away. I will give you as much information in quick and short amounts of time so that you can make a decision and decide if this is going to be effective and efficient for you and your organization, your church, your ministry. If you are a senior pastor, if you're directing any sort of ministry, if you're a church plant, if your church budget is extremely tight, if you have any sort of leadership role in a nonprofit organization, this is going to be effective for you in recruiting volunteers. A little bit about myself. I'm a conference ministerial candidate for the Free Methodist Church in Southern California. I was a pastor for children and families for the past 3 years in Santa Barbara, and recently I started teaching fitness classes at YMCAs in town. And now that it's the summer before I start classes at Duke Divinity, I'm realizing how burnt out I was feeling at the end of my time at the church. And honestly, it's because I was trying to do everything. So I'm going to give you tips, suggestions, best practices for recruiting volunteers. There are 4 primary ways that we're going to frame volunteer ministry for this video series. Everything is going to go back to these 4 things. First, it's always relational. It's about having good connections with people, having deep connections with people, showing that you really care about them, and then sharing your vision for an organization and inviting them personally onto your team. If people like you, they'll help you out. 2, efficiency. I want to give you tools that are going to help your time be used efficiently, effectively, and with the most amount of volunteers. Sustainable. If you decide to go in a different direction, the ministry, the vision is still being executed because you have implemented amazing volunteers. And lastly, you have to be self-assured or God-assured. Being God-assured means that you are so confident about your vision, about what the organization is trying to accomplish, that you will do whatever it is God is asking you to do, whether people like it or not. Because there's always going to be the naysayer, and there's always going to be the realist, and there's always going to be someone that's maybe a little more negative. And you have to be assured enough that the vision that you have, that it really is the direction that God wants you to take. Okay, here's step 1. You can complete it today in less than 5 minutes. There are 2 links down below. First, click on the first one and order Sustainable Youth Ministry on Amazon, a couple dollars. It's by Mark DeVries or DeVries, can't remember. We're also going to go over a video series that he does on accountability in volunteer recruiting. It's great. Accountability to make those phone calls and set up those meetings with the volunteers. because it can take a lot of time, but it's always worth it because volunteer recruiting is always relational. Now, the great thing is we're going to use this as a resource. I will reference it often, but you don't have to spend time reading the entire book because I'm going to pick out the golden pieces of his work, his information, and give them to you. Things that have worked for me in the past in children's recruiting for children's ministry. Subscribe to my email list down below as well. I want to make sure I give you all the updates. If he comes out with a new publication on volunteer recruiting, if there's a software update on the volunteer scheduling software that I recommend, subscribe to that email list so I can give you everything you need. The videos that follow this are going to be titled as descriptively as possible so you can click through on kind of the areas of most immediate need in your organization and your ministry. I know that your time is precious, so we are done for today. Please complete step 1 and subscribe to my YouTube account. You can see when videos are posted and find the videos that are most helpful for your immediate needs. I look forward to spending more time with you. Comment so that I can see real life recruiting situations and be able to respond with resources and suggestions. I look forward to spending more time with you and growing and building your networks of volunteers, and we will be in touch.